Jai Baba. This is Minoo Kharas from Karachi, Pakistan. Today I will speak to you all about my life, in short, with our beloved Meher Baba. It was since my childhood that the urge to see God was predominant, without anybody having referred to me about it, or without my having read anything to have that instinct in me aroused. Visits and solicitation of advices from the first natural available sources, the priests, first of my community where I am born, the Parsis, and then from the others, brought me nowhere near God. Naturally, I then had to turn myself to visiting various mazars, tombs, places of pilgrimages, and yet my intense desire to meet God was a complete frustration. I then contacted a number of saints, including the world-famous Krishnamurti, but yet God was nowhere to be found. I then wondered whether God is really any entity or not. And if He is, then why and how do I not see Him? And it was very clear to me that I not only wanted to see God, but wanted thereafter to be with Him. And strange as it may sound, to be actually be Him. Sort of merged completely in Him, that I would want nothing else than that. So finally, I took recourse to seashores, graveyards, outskirts of the city, jungles, and I started talking to God, all in the wilderness. Yet there was no trace of God. I started becoming rowdy with God, nowhere to be found, but kept on persisting in my search for God, this very life at any cost. Almost when I was totally frustrated, I was mightily happy for having come across Kabir Wani, a book by the renowned perfect master Kabir Sahib, in which it is crystal clear that God does come down periodically in the form of a master, a Sadguru, and also once in a while as the avatar, the Rasul, the God-man. Well, the first part of the journey was over. Now it was for me, at any cost, to locate God. Reading English translation of the Holy Gita, this was confirmed to me that God Himself does come down once in a while, once in a cycle of time. And the last thing therefore left for me was to find out if the present times in which I am living is the time when God would be available in the flesh. At last, on the most memorable Sunday, the 17th of January 1932, I did meet a human being who for all practical purposes appeared and appears always as an ordinary normal human being as you and I. And I met him at a Circle Cinema Nasik. But the moment I saw him, I felt within me, without his having said anything or even gestured, because then he was in his silence, in his early beginning years of silence, I felt convincingly that this is the God in flesh before me, and that my search for God had ended. Now it was for me to get closer and closer to Him in my life unto my goal, God realization, which then was predominant in me. Well, the first day when I met him, I did not utter one word, but fired out every word, good or bad, that I had within me. And his gestures, his noddings, his saying yes by nodding his head in that manner, proved to me conclusively that every word that I was uttering from within, he was listening. And right enough, as soon as I completed, he said, "Minoo, I have heard you completely. Not only you love me, but I love you. I have a debt which I have to repay you." And so on. Well, this is how our physical association in life started. But let me make it very plain to you all that to me, he was God, that is, Almighty in human form. Nothing short of that. And in this fashion, my association in life started. His few utterances were mostly in regard to the stupendous role that, according to him, I would have to play with him physically this very life during his most glorious manifestation as never before. He made no secret of this fact, and he made certain utterances which proved the inner deep urge in me to find God this very life, to be with Him, and to finally merge in Him. In order to qualify me for that stupendous task, from the very beginning, he gave me 3 specific orders, saying, "Minoo, beware of a lustful act. No woman, no romance. Number 2, no drinking of liquor in any form." He even specified, not even beer, not even toddy, at any cost, even at the cost of your life. And 3rd, no smoking. It was perfectly evident that this caution he gave, this open hint he gave through his infinite compassion to see that when the holy hour does come, and be sure it will come in our very lives, that I would be ready, fully qualified to be with him then. Why should I have been singled out? Or why should a few others, I do not know if any others have been so clearly and repeatedly and emphatically informed by Baba, but I am concerned with myself and with Baba. But I know he has done this. And so much so that once in early 40s, he had his then secretary, Mr. Faramroz Dada Chanji, sent all over to Karachi with only one news to me, that Minoo, remember my words and don't waste energy, reserve for the stupendous task. Just imagine. And then, a little before that, in 1939, he sends me a cable, come alone, inform none. As if I was a child at a junction. I cannot name that railway junction, lest you would suspect or understand where Baba called me, and he did not and does not want till this moment anybody to know where he called me, where he met me. And I was taken there from that junction as if I was a child, and even after the task was over, within a few hours that day, I was sent back with Mr. Dada Chandi up to that junction. It was at that moment also that he confirmed all about my being vigilant of what he had told me in regard to the role that will have to be played at the time of his manifestation. In 1943 at Lahore, he once again sent for me and repeated the same thing. And from beginning till the last moment, every time I met, he asked me whether I had slipped even a bit in the three said respects. And whatever human failings and weaknesses I underwent, which I boldly confess, were by his grace within the limits. There were occasions when I almost crossed the threshold. I was nervous, but the love and faith, and above all his love grace on me, kept me up to this very moment. Then comes the new life of Baba, in which, as many of you may be knowing, I was one of the Yashwalas, and I was the only one singled out by him, that being Yashwalas, I was to go back to the same old life in the world, with the exception of certain orders that he gave me during new life, and those orders coincided with all the activities that Baba with his Yashwala companions did during the new life phase. Now, with all these spiritual utterances of the highest order, I must admit that side by side he warned me and warned me repeatedly, saying very often, Minoo, you are perfect from top to toe, but your eyes are very bad. And in time to come, he took pains to see that those eyes changed. And now you would like me to be a little more in a lighter mood to tell you few things about my association with him for around 39 years. That is from 17th of January 1932 at Nasik to 31st of January 1969 when Baba dropped his physical body. Well, it all looks a very long period. But don't be carried away by the impression that all the 39 years I was with him. According to the notes that I have written from beginning till now, whenever I met Baba, wherever I met Baba, at various places in the undivided India, I remember well that Baba has played many games with many people, and I have played some of those games like marbles, cricket, carom, his most favorite card game Laris, table tennis, drafts. And at that time Baba was absolutely as normal, natural as any human being. One wondered as to why and how one who calls himself as God had such activities. But he had his own reasons for that. And it would be out of place at present to elaborate on this side of Baba's life. But during these games, I saw him in a very happy mood, at times in very violent mood, at times so very angry, all kinds of moods through which we all humans pass when we play these games. But in all these games, singing, dancing, and such physical activities that we experience with him in our life with him, he very keenly watched almost everyone as to how far one was conscious of the fact that he is before God in human form. This was very, very difficult. In addition to the stories, there were certain incidents which were also related. And now, for a speaker of stories and incidents, it is the ego that is predominant. There is the natural desire to speak. And for the listeners, it is the natural inquisitiveness to know, just the interest to know. But here we are dealing with stories and incidents in life of an individual during the physical lifetime of God. So you must understand that the spirit and the motive behind relating some of the stories and the incidents is to make one understand certain characteristics of Baba, certain basic requirements in us as true, genuine spiritual aspirants and Baba lovers. In order to help one to that, these stories and incidents have been related with all love, so that if one of you or more can be benefited, then the purpose is served. Now let us be specific. What are the requirements? The first and the foremost requirement is pinpointed love and devotion to the Master and Master alone and to nobody else. It's all right on the path of good to pay homage to holy people, to more than one Sadguru's masters, to go and visit places of pilgrimages, and so on. But on the path of God, what is required? This is not my opinion or assumption or presumption, but which is a basic spiritual fact as often revealed by Baba during my life with him, is love. Love for him and him alone. Then comes faith. To feel what Baba says he is. And then, above all, implicit obedience to his wish, will and his orders. Simple as these sound, how difficult it has been in life with me, as I'm sure with almost all, is known to you all. To ensure that we have love, faith, obedience, and allegiance only to him and him alone, he puts us all to very severe tests, and I was no exception to the rule. Through disobedience, of course unwittingly, of some of his orders, the sufferance in life was tremendous. To a certain extent, I have elaborated on this issue yesterday. But it will suffice here to say that the test by Baba to me in my life, the tests have been non-stop. And so much so that it brought me to terrific sufferance, financially, economically, and in every way in life. But I held firm, would have nothing whatsoever to do with any other Sadguru, Master, Saint, Must, or anyone. And only when, after testing in his own manner, throughout the long many years, he found that even he was helpless, as openly declared by him before many at various places in the undivided India in the past, that the wheel of life in my case changed to the better. When Baba says he's helpless, as in my case more than once he said, what I mean is this, that it became next to impossible for him. I'm sorry, stupid as it may sound when I say so, but it is a fact, that all endeavors to see that I would leave, go away, disown him, because I've suffered, I'm suffering, that I was quite different, quite happy, I was loved by so many, respected, instead of that, tormented, humiliated now. And that was very easy for anyone, and substantial cause, as would appear outwardly, to leave Baba. But yet I would not. And according to him, on the contrary, came closer and closer. And this all, however egoistic it sounds, was nothing else but the result of his own supreme grace of love on me. And this should be for everyone. Now, this issue I'll wind up by plain, simple statement that all that is desired is that our prayers, with all respects to prayers in all religions, our prayers, I repeat, should be the very name of Baba. Our pilgrimage should be only going for his darshan. Our picnic, our holidays should be only to go where he is, to spend days with him. Our charity should be only whatever little mite we can contribute towards his work. And I'm happy to tell you, I don't know whether it is wise on my part to do so today, but why not? That on the eve of new life, when Baba was settling accounts with everybody on all scores, on all issues, he found that he was in a certain, say, bottleneck. I would not like to name, but the Baba stalwarts, who all their life contributed with love so lavishly for Baba's work, were for their own reasons at that critical moment totally helpless. And Baba turned to more than one others with the same result. Finally, for reasons best known to him, he turned to me, whom he always called a Pulus master, that is, one who is penniless. And as soon as the proposal was put to me, I readily accepted, to the amazement of all, including Baba, ran, and much before a very short time limit given by Baba, the task was completed by his own grace of love, to his entire satisfaction. Precisely, I told you, I do not know whether it is wise for me to have even given an indication to you all today of this incident in my life with Baba. So, I do not know how to put it to you all. But this much I can say, and I'm sure you will understand, that certain financial adjustments were very badly required before the deadline coming close for Baba and his companions to proceed with everything cleared very shortly thereafter for the new life. And I, a beggar, how could I undertake to meet the said fairly large financial requirement for his very good spiritual reasons? And I most miraculously succeeded and actually finished his then financial requirement, which was badly required to be completed before starting on the new life. That's all I can elaborate at the moment on the issue. However, I can add this much in further clarification, that Baba, I repeat, knew too well that of all the persons present then, I was least expected to be able to arrange within a short, limited period of time the required financial difficulty to cross that hurdle. But I spontaneously, with love, agreed. I rushed. I went to my own brother, from whom I could easily expect whole or part of the financial help that I had given him in the past. But he was most surprisingly found to be in his own difficulties and was unable to help me with anything. Undaunted, I rushed to Bombay, and most miraculously, I came across a person who met me suddenly on the road and said and requested whether I could do him a favor. And to my utter surprise, the favor desired was entrusting a fairly big amount in my hands to be handed over to him sometime later on my return home. How wonderfully it fitted, and fitted in time the requirement. I accepted. I took the whole amount, the moral responsibility to return, and rushed back to Baba quietly. And Baba and the rest were surprised to see me back within literally a couple of hours, and wondered whether I had come change-minded or whether I had come duly finishing the issue. And when I quietly nodded my head, Baba was immensely pleased, and the people around were surprised. This is what I mean, that miraculously I could, within that short limited period, comply with the financial requirement of Baba on the eve of his proceeding on new life. And this, I also repeat, is one of the wonderful ways in which Baba tested me in life. I'm sure many of you have heard that Baba would very often call someone from the resident Mandali or a visitor then talking to the resident Mandali and ask what you are just thinking. And the person concerned had to say. In contrast to that, I will tell you something which very often happened to me in life with Baba. And one glaring incident was during his birthday celebrations at Nasik on a very elaborate scale in the year 1937, when for the first time Westerners were also present. I was standing right behind Baba on the stage where he was seated on a couch, and there was a sea of men before him. It was during those glorious days that Baba distributed from dawn to dusk, clothes and food, uncooked of course, in bundles to lakhs and lakhs of poor and the needy. The main point of my story is this, that during those celebrations, there was an aged, reputed Parsi philosopher, writer, seeker of truth, lover of Baba, who made a very inspiring short speech about Baba, and in the end, he referred to the Parsis, he being himself a Parsi, and said that you blind fool Parsis, open your eyes. Here before us is sitting living Zoroaster. Somehow or the other, I said to myself from within that this old man is now standing on a dangerous threshold, because very soon I feel he will either disown Baba and start talking against Baba. And Baba turned his face immediately towards me and put his finger on his mouth, signifying, Minoo, shut up. Thus, Baba had evidently heard every word that I had uttered from within myself without opening my mouth.